Welcome to Countdown to the Semifinals, presented by Wendy's. We are out here getting ready to watch some good college basketball. Christine Williamson and Tarika Foster Brasby. Now, you guys, well, first, before we get to that, how do you feel? How are we doing that we're out here? We're in Dallas, Texas, in front of the AAC. How you feeling, girlfriend?
I am feeling so good. I'm so excited to be here. The weather is great. I was nervous, but the weather is amazing, and I mean, this is shaping up to be a great event. So how could you not feel dope?
Yeah, Dallas, Texas, definitely a little toasty, a little humid. However, we have a nice breeze over here on set, so we're feeling good. This is what I was going to say earlier. We have some very colorful jackets on, and this is not by coincidence. No. We are channeling our inner Kim Mulkey right now. Where did you get this from?
So what is this? This is my, just so we know, my sorority is Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, and our colors are blue and gold. So when I saw this shimmery, shiny, blue and gold, like sequin jacket, I was like, Kim Mulkey would love this, and she wants me to buy this jacket.
Of course.
So of course,
that makes sense. Yeah. So I actually kind of thrifted this. I follow a woman on Instagram who goes thrifting in New York, and she you know, finds gems. And so I've had this for a minute, haven't had a reason to wear it until now, because as you can see, Kim Mulkey, I mean, how did you feel about the feather look?
It gave me slash peacock slash, you know, kind of New Orleans kind of feel. Like I was getting a Great Gatsby kind of thing. You ever seen like those middle, when you have like a party and they've got like the feathers that are like coming out of the vase? Like that's kind of what it was giving me a little bit.
That makes sense,
Yeah, but you know, only Kim can pull that off.
Listen, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if Kim can actually pull it off either. It was a lot for me. I did like the sequence look, but that was a lot.
It was I'm not gonna lie.
But I understand that you want to look at somebody else that might actually be pulling off her style.
Yes, as we talk about Kim Mulkey and her style, we cannot forget about Dawn Staley and her style, because sis be dressing. She's fresh. And so, first off, she's an Eagles fan, so when she brought out the authentic Randall Cunningham jersey, I was like, whoa. Then she paid homage to C. Vivian Stringer with the Cheney jersey, because Cheney was, you know, the only HBCU to get to a Final Four. And then last year, I mean, she kind of set the precedent. She's just, with the 54 jacket, it was custom made. Like, you can't, like, there's style and then there's Dawn style.
Right. She's also been, you know, she elevates the style a little bit because she also wears like Louis, Gucci. You know. That means she got money. Anyway, so since we were on the subject of Kim Mulkey specifically, we know that she has a lot of personality. She's very boisterous, and she's not afraid to be so. So you got to hang out with some of her players so they can give some impersonations. Let's take a look really fast.
It's your girl Tarika, and I am outside of the LSU locker room here at the Final Four, and everyone has their own opinions about playing for Coach Kim Mulkey or how Coach Kim Mulkey is.
That wasn't a pretty game, but I'm not going to apologize. We jacked up some shots. We hadn't hit some shots. If I was watching this game, I'd turn it off. Look at that score, would you?
You know what we're going to do? We're going to ask the players their best impersonation of Coach Kim.
As of recently, because I've been fouling out, it's your fault, KP. It's your fault we're in this predicament. Now you sit. And I'm like, Coach, you know, we're going to win. We got this.
She'd just be like, play my country music. And then we got to listen to country music the whole time.
I'm the happiest girl in the whole USA.
All right, so this is me. Man, I can't hit a shot, Coach. I can't hit a shot. Well, shoot it anyway.
It'll be on the sideline when, like, if we don't get a foul call or nothing, she'll be like, she'll do that. It's no words. It's just,
Angel, if you don't jump, you can't jump over a piece of paper. Why are you not jumping on your rebounds and your layups?
Rebound. You better rebound. You better rebound.
when the South Carolina game, I didn't have my best game, so she told me in practice, and Angel, we lost that South Carolina game because you only have 4 rebounds. That's the issue right there. So I have 4 rebounds written in my locker. So I remember that every time I go for a rebound, I gotta make sure I get more than 4.
I imagine nobody actually sang like Mulkey in that, but we'll try to get them next time for that. All right, here's what's on tap for tonight. Immediately after us, we have the NCAA Women's Final Four special presented by Capital One on ESPN. That leads into the semifinal games on ESPN and ESPN Plus. LSU versus Virginia Tech at 7 p.m. Eastern, followed by Iowa versus South Carolina at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can also watch the alternate telecast of the Women's Final Four hosted by Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi over on ESPN2 and ESPN Plus. We saw Sue Bird earlier today. She's looking good. She's ready. We were listening to some jams in the makeup room. It was a grand old time. So obviously we're here at the Final Four, and there was a journey to get here. So we're going to take a quick look at how exactly these four teams got to where they are. And just look at the tournament as a whole. We start with that Stanford loss to Ole Miss. This is in the second round, where the big headline was that two #1 seeds failed to advance to the Sweet 16. That was the first time since 1998. So first it was Stanford to Ole Miss that took South Carolina to overtime, just a month ago.
Yep.
That snapped a streak of 14 straight Sweet 16 appearances for the Cardinal, the third longest in tournament history. What did you see in that matchup?
Well, I think what's interesting about that is that even coming into this tournament, how much conversation did we have about how we were unsure whether or not Stanford was going to be truly worthy, per se, of a 1 seed. Also, you think about how Ole Miss had continued to play with confidence. Their defense was super in that game.
Yeah.
And they really took the Stanford Stars out of it. Even though Haley Jones had 21 points, Cameron Brink had a double-double, it just never felt like Ole Miss, it never felt like Stanford was ever really in control of that game. And so I think it was just a great moment and a great opportunity for Ole Miss, but at an unfortunate circumstance for Stanford.
For sure. I want you guys to all know something. I went to the University of Miami, and my nails are currently orange and green because our men's team is playing in the Final Four, but I do want to talk about this a little bit because Miami, the next night, shocked Indiana in a wild ending, and I feel like this was the one game literally nobody expected.
No.
I mean, I had them in this upset, of course, because I have Miami going to the championship in both of my brackets. However, nobody really expected this. What did you see out of the
Okay, to be fair, I had like 50 brackets, right? So, in none of
Not
them...
50.
50, right?
Not 50.
In none of them did I have Miami defeating Indiana. So, I'm not afraid to say, kudos to you. Shout out to your belief. But no, I just think that if you have not really, embraced yourself in this Miami team, then I don't know what you're doing. This run was so historic. It was so great. First, they had to rally from 17 down to even beat Oklahoma to be in a position for Destiny Harden to just pull off the upset. And even moving forward, I know that they lost in the Elite 8 to LSU.
Right.
I just think that what Jasmine Robertson has done, 22 points in that game, just the way that they continue to play with a lot of confidence, the ACC better be worried.
Exactly. I love that because, never mind, I was going to say an inside joke. I'll wait for that a little bit later. Okay, let's go to the Sweet 16. In the Sweet 16, 2 games stood above the rest. Firstly, LSU beat Utah in a wild ending where Utah missed 2 free throws in the final seconds to take the lead and still had a chance to send the game to overtime. What did you see in this matchup?
You remember how everybody talked about LSU's schedule? You remember that? Everyone's talked about how soft LSU's schedule was. I know I remember it because I was one of the ones that was talking about it. LSU, my bad. I disrespected y'all, and I apologize about that because this game showed that you really don't need a tough schedule in order to figure out how to play as a team. And I think that's what they did against Utah. Utah made a lot of miscues towards the end of that game, and LSU figured out because they had played together, because they learned each other, because they knew each other well enough to know how to capitalize on those mistakes, and that's why they're right here in the Final Four.
Yeah, I want to mention this about Kim Mulkey because I feel like we could have expected this when she went to LSU. She's a 10th coach to take multiple teams to the Elite 8. Obviously, we saw what she did at Baylor, and this is LSU's first Elite 8 appearance since 2008. So she's doing exactly what we expected them to do. But when we saw them lose to South Carolina earlier in the season, that is the reason we were like, this is not an LSU team that can end up in the Final Four. But here they are. All right, this was arguably the biggest story in the tournament so far. It's the downfall of UConn, who lost to Ohio State the following night. It snapped their streak of 14 straight Final Fours for UConn, the longest ever. What did you see in this this UConn-Ohio State matchup?
So I'm actually going to give some love to Ohio State, more so than the fact that it's UConn's downfall, because Cody McMahon played amazing. 23 points for the Buckeyes. She really forced UConn to play uncharacteristically, and that was huge for them. They also dominated with that full court press. I mean, they took the Huskies completely out of their game offensively. And yeah, we can talk about, you know, Paige not being there.
Right.
We can certainly talk about AZ coming back and not really having a lot of time to, you know, get back to form per se. But ultimately, I really think this was Ohio State's game to win, and they did that.
What do you expect? Because as you mentioned, Paige is coming back. AZ will hopefully be at 100% next year. What do you expect from UConn next season as they have their players back that they expected to have this season?
Yeah, they're also going to have Ice Brady back too.
Right.
So this is, I think that there comes a time where we have to understand that the landscape of women's college basketball is changing. People aren't necessarily just going to the one or two schools that have been historically powerful. They're now adapting and finding ways to win and wanting to play at other institutions. And that's going to give UConn an opportunity to really have to show not only is their recruiting going to be on point, but they're going to have to learn how to play in an environment where they're not the top dogs anymore.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? They're going to have to learn how to play and understand there are other teams out there that are going to be just as strong, that are going to be offensively powerful.
Right.
And so I'm excited to see what they do and how they regroup.
All right, so earlier I said I was going to say an inside joke, and the inside joke was we had a show earlier with Sam Ravitch, and he just said, I love Virginia Tech. I can say that right now because we're going to talk about them. In the Elite Eight, we saw Georgia Amore and Liz Kitley lead Virginia Tech to its first ever Final Four appearance in a dominant win over Ohio State. Liz Kitley had a team-high 25 points in the win. Georgia Amore had 6 straight games with 20 or more points. They've been absolutely balling for this Virginia Tech team. What have you seen out of them? Why do you love them?
So here's the thing, right? Virginia Tech is like that team that like no one really paid attention to for real until it was too late. Like when you decided you wanted to really scout this team and really figure out what made this team go, it was too late. They were already dominating, right? And so I love that, you know, Virginia Tech was a 7 seed a couple of years ago. They were a 5 seed last year, and now they're a 1 seed, and I think it plays to the part that Kenny Brooks is one, just continually, steadily building a contender out of this team. Georgia Amore is going to shoot the lights out of the gym, period. Liz Kitley is going to rebound your lights out, period. And that's what's going to continue to push this team. I think it's going to be so interesting to see how they play tonight against LSU. And I'm going to see if they're going to continue to be that team no one's talking about, sliding under the radar and come away with a win. Who knows? But Sam, you called it.
Sam had them in his Final Four. Wait, didn't he have another team in his Final Four too? And we had to call him out.
Sam had like 3 teams. First he said that UConn.
He said UConn because he's a UConn guy. Right.
And then literally last minute said, I love Virginia Tech.
It was the greatest moment in our entire show. Okay, let's go over to Caitlin Clark, who we already know is an absolute bucket, and she is the star of the tournament. She had the first 40-point triple-double in NCAA tournament history. That's men's or women's, to lead Iowa to its first Final Four since 1993. And I mean, we've talked a lot about Caitlin Clark. We obviously know she's an absolute bucket. But what did you see in this matchup specifically that she did well?
I love that she kept her team extremely motivated, no matter what the score was, no matter how big of a moment it felt for, you know, Iowa, and that they didn't want to be in the same position that they were last year, where they were so very close and just didn't quite close the deal. She kept her team motivated, and that's something that I've learned over the course of this last, year about Caitlin Clark, is that she not only motivates herself, but she motivates her team, and I love that.
Yeah, I got to talk to her earlier this week, and I asked her about her range. Because I was like, sister, how does it keep getting further and further? Because her average three-pointer is actually 4 points behind the three-point line.
Crazy.
How? But she's an absolute bucket, and it's been great to watch her play. Iowa, by the way, leads the nation in scoring with 87.6 points per game. Okay, they're going to have to play a really tough team. It's going to be a little rough for them. We've been talking about this matchup for a long time. Even going into the tournament, we were like, oh, Iowa, look. Oh, they have South Carolina. We haven't even talked about South Carolina, who have blitzed through this tournament with a 15-point average margin on victory. Most people have them as their champion. Why?
It's because what can you really do to stop them? Like, that's the real question. We got an opportunity in this Maryland game to see a one-on-one matchup with Aaliyah Boston, and how did that fare? You cannot match up one-on-one with Aaliyah
rough.
Boston. It's one of the reasons why she's continually doubled and tripled, because she is going to dominate the inside post. And this team is a team that thrives on defense. We're really going to see tonight when we hear the old adage that defense wins championships.
Right.
Well, we're going to find out, because that's what South Carolina thrives on, and they've done it so well. Then you get Zaya Cook, that's cooking. And when Sis is cooking, there's nothing what you can do but pull up a plate and grab a fork, because it's over. It's a wrap. So that is why I think so many people are just like, the only ones who can beat y'all are y'all.
Wait, I love the T-isms. I've never heard this. I'm going to call that a T-ism.
Hello.
Because Perk has his Perkisms.
Yeah.
I'm always like, where did you just pull that out of? But I loved that. What was it? Pull up a plate.
Just pull up a plate and a fork. She's cooking, man.
Okay, I love that. Okay, so as we mentioned, obviously Caitlin Clark, an absolute bucket. She's also very fiery. So you got to hang out with her teammates and asked them to impersonate her. Take a look at this.
We love to see a good clap back, right? And no one does that better than Caitlin Clark. I mean, just a couple of days ago in her game against Louisville, she basically told Haley Van Lith, you're down 15 points. Shut up. We're going to go talk to some of her teammates to see what are some of their best Caitlin clapbacks or best motivations. Let's find out.
The last game when she was like, you can't see me. That really got everyone fired up.
When she gets an and one, she'll like go like this and come to the bench and she'll be like, let's go.
That's pretty fun.
She gets pretty fiery in our timeouts. You know, she might even clap back at us because she wants us to play with that same fire, you know, and sometimes we're pretty even-keeled, some of us, but she's like, let's go, come on, dive on the floor, whatever it may be.
She always will just come to me like after a timeout, before I'm at like a tough stretch, we think, and she'll just like give me a little bit of extra reassurance. Honestly, I think the last Elite Eight game, I loved when she did the John Cena thing. I think that was so cool.
One time, I don't even remember which game it was, but she came over to the bench, and I think she had just made a shot or something. She came over to the bench and she just stood right in front of us and was just clapping at us, and we all like, there was just a picture of us surrounding her.
Honestly, she's done it a lot, but in the Louisville game when I was 0 for 4, she like grabbed me and was like, you better keep shooting, like keep your head up, like, and I think just having seeing the confidence that she has in me, it makes me want to like, I don't have time to like feel sorry for myself.
I love when she just hypes up the crowd and then everyone just goes wild. It's awesome every time.
It's time now for Square Up, presented by Wendy's. We're going to look at a battle of two titans in this matchup. Obviously, we've been talking about them all season, Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. But Andrea Carter is here joining us now. And Dre, we just saw some players, some Iowa players, impersonate Caitlin Clark.
Okay.
So I would like you to also do your best Caitlin Clark impersonation.
That's what she does.
That's the one.
That's the one.
That's the one. That's the one. It's a lot of Iowa fans out here too. I don't know.
Yeah,
There you go.
I'm not Caitlin, so it doesn't have the same effect. It doesn't have the same effect. That's okay.
Let's start with her because she just won Naismith Player of the Year and AP Player of the Year award. She's absolutely taken over this college basketball season. What about her game is so special?
It has to be her confidence, right? Like the way that Caitlin Clark plays, it's almost like she doesn't see the first line of defense. Like if there is one defender on her, she is blind to whoever that is. She gets her shot off. She's got a quick trigger. She can create space. But the thing about Caitlin that makes her even more special this year than she ever has been, she talked to us and she said that she doesn't feel like she has to score early to be effective. She said she used to force a lot of things. She doesn't force anything right now. Now it's just whatever the defense takes her and whatever the defense gives her, but they don't have to give her very much because just 2 inches of space is enough to get her shot off. It's been really impressive how she's been able to be effective. She's stronger this season. She's a better defender this season. She gets to the rim better this season, but she's also still hitting those logo threes. She's a more complete player in my opinion.
Love that.
Yeah, and you know, the interesting thing about it is that she is so efficient and so much behind the basic power of the Iowa offense. She has either scored or assisted on 62% of their offense. And so when you are going up against the nation's biggest and baddest defense, you know, what do you think Caitlin needs to do in order to maintain that efficiency to get around the Gamecocks?
Well, it's going to take a lot of effort, right? Because I think that South Carolina, like, Iowa's not going to see anything really different in terms of scheme, right? Like, they've faced so many different defenses this season. Caitlin Clark has seen so many different defenses this season. The difference is personnel.
Yeah.
They haven't seen this type of personnel. No one has seen this type of personnel until they play South Carolina in terms of length and athleticism and mobility and their ability to get out and make threes, contested threes, even at a really deep range. So I think her maintaining her confidence, which she's an extremely confident player, letting it fly, not worrying about misses, and just taking whatever she can at any opportunity that she can. Because you have to think, South Carolina is going to get so many second chance points. They're going to get more opportunities shooting. For Caitlin Clark, she needs to take as many opportunities as she can to get that shot up.
I do want to ask you, because earlier in the season, and I'm not trying to blow up your mentions, T, but earlier in the season, we did have a conversation about Caitlin Clark, and we were trying to figure out what her weakness was.
Yeah.
And T mentioned the fact that in the third quarter, she's not performing as she is in the other 3 quarters of the matchup. What do you think her weaknesses are? Does she have any?
Oh, what her weaknesses are? I think, honestly, if I were defending Caitlin Clark, what I would try to make her do is shoot mid-range pull-up jump shots, right? So I would try to run her off the line, but have athleticism enough, which you have to have, because you got to think she's 6 foot.
Yeah.
So she's got more length than you think to create some separation on the dribble. So you've got to close out long. Then you've got to follow her and make her shoot mid-range pull-up jump shots. Not mid-range threes, not floaters, and not layups. See, like, that's a floater. That's a layup. That's too easy for Caitlin Clark. She can knock those down.
Yeah.
I think the shot that I have seen her take the least, it's so hard saying that it's a weakness because she is such an incredible player, right? She's AP Player of the Year for a reason. But when you're talking about what she does the least, like that's at the rim.
Yeah.
What she does the least is her mid-range game. So you got to try and cut her off enough to make her put 2 feet on the ground and shoot a mid-range pull-up jump shot. And I think that would be what I would try to make her do as much as possible if you can.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, well, just to switch over really quick to South Carolina.
Yeah.
I feel like Aaliyah Boston has kind of been overshadowed a little bit, even though she's the reigning Wendy's Wooden Award winner.
Right.
I think that when you talk about her double-doubles and just how she's been playing this tournament, it hasn't been exceptional in terms of stats. However, what do you think she's doing exceptionally well with in this tournament?
If she's been not talked about enough, it's because people don't recognize the decision making. Like, I haven't seen Aaliyah Boston make the wrong decision yet. Whether it's out of the double team, whether it's out of the triple team, whether it's out of single coverage, I've seen Aaliyah Boston, like you see how even there, she cuts her eyes to see where the defense is and see how they're guarding her, and then she makes a decision, even on this play. That's just patience, that's just poise. Let me take what the defense gives me, similar to Caitlin Clark, but at times she has to pass it out. And a lot of times she'll make one pass and it's a hockey assist that leads to the next pass that's that wide open shot, right? She sees one play ahead, but because she's a post player, doesn't always show up in stats, because sometimes it takes one more pass to get the shot that South Carolina needs. But I think in terms of Aaliyah Boston, her leadership can't be quantified. Like, that's not something that shows up on paper. That is just something that her coaches and her teammates feel. And then her decision making is huge. And then her defense has been so impressive. I mean, not only blocking shots, but just contesting shots and making you think twice before you go in the paint and you try to score. That makes a huge difference.
Yeah, she has got 2 blocks in each of the 4 NCAA tournament games. What are they going to have to do to try to slow Aaliyah Boston down? Because they can't stop her, but what are they going to have to do in order to slow her down?
I think you have to pick your poison, and what's really going to hurt Iowa is if South Carolina's guards are hitting shots. Because at some point you're going to see they're probably going to send a double team off of Bree Beal. They might send a double team off of Kiara Fletcher. Like, they're going to pick who they're going to send the double team on, and you just have to hope that South Carolina guards aren't hitting shots. Now, the issue is when South Carolina guards start hitting shots, then you don't really have an answer for it, right? But what you don't want to do is give Aaliyah Boston efficient looks inside of the paint. So first things first, you want to push her out on the block so she's not setting up extremely early and deep into the lane. But then you might have to send a double team. You might have to send a triple team. Who is it coming from? Where is it coming from? And if you're able to do that effectively, the hardest part is getting back out to contest the shot. You just got to pick your poison with this team.
Yeah. All right, Dre, you've been covering women's college basketball all season. Obviously, there's been some amazing moments in this tournament specifically. We talked about how each team got here. What has been the highlight for you as you look back at the tournament?
Oh, man, at the tournament. Let me think here.
Doesn't it feel like a year ago?
It's just so much, right? It's crazy. I was honestly really impressed with Virginia Tech. I mean, this is a team that I've talked about early in the season at being just a complete basketball team, and watching them dismantle Ohio State's press that Ohio State has caused so much havoc. I almost said HE double hockey sticks. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on TV. They have just made people so frustrated and flustered. Watching Virginia Tech be efficient to get their first Final Four appearance, watching Georgia Amore, it's been amazing.
Okay, well, Dre, we've loved to watch you.
Thanks.
She's an absolute star, and she looks so good every time she's here with us and on TV.
Thanks.
We love you.
The makeup artist. I love you too.
I feel so much smarter when I
it's
said
natural beauty. Okay, so you're watching. Thanks, Dre. All right, so it has been 24 years since Carolyn Peck became the first African-American woman to win the NCAA title as a head coach of Purdue. We're going to talk to her very shortly. Fans out trying to, I guess, channel their inner Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
Out here on the party in the plaza. I personally, now I'm going to hype myself up a little bit. I never played in a Final Four. I never played basketball in college. However, my dad did say that I would have been better at basketball than I was at volleyball, and I played in college. So I feel like I could be at least that woman right now.
I mean, yeah, if they were going to shoot like Caitlin, though, they would need to be like 5 streets over.
Yeah. All right, we now welcome in one Carolyn Peck, who I just mentioned became the first African-American coach to win NCAA title. Hello, Coach.
Hi.
So happy to have you. It's been forever. I feel like I haven't seen you in so long. We got to hang out a little bit earlier.
Yes.
Love having you here. Okay, so this is just... First of all, this is a huge year for black women, for black coaches in general. It's the second year.
Don't leave out Kenny Brooks now.
Exactly. That's why I said black coaches in general. It's the second year that 2 black head coaches are in the Final Four, Kenny Brooks and Dawn Staley. How special is this moment for not only the tournament as a whole, but also for black coaches in general?
Let me tell you what makes it special is it's becoming the norm, so that it's going to get to a point to where we don't have to designate and point out that we've got 4 black coaches in the Sweet 16, or we have 2 in the Final Four.
Yep.
We just have great coaches that are there, because now it's not really unexpected or special just that we have black coaches there. Now it's just expected because the opportunities have presented itself. When you look at Kenny Brooks and what he did at James Madison, I know that when I was watching him, my husband and I would talk about all the time, and my husband would go, why does that man not have a Power 5 job? What did he do? What did he have to take? He had to take a Power 5 job that he had to really dig from the bottom, and now he's here. And so it's really a pat on the back to him. Dawn Staley did the same thing at South Carolina. That was a program that had never been to a Final Four, and now Kenny Brooks has done that for Virginia Tech.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think when you also talk about milestones, and, you know, this is the first year since 1985 that we don't have any of those powerhouse blue blood teams. There is no Stanford this year. There is no UConn. There is no Tennessee. You know, missing the Elite Eight. You're like, what is happening here? I think, you know, it's not an indictment on those particular teams, but do you think that that just speaks to the parity that has happened here in women's basketball?
I think it's spoken to parity. I also think that it has spoken to the transfer portal. I think that definitely has helped, right? And so now players can move around and find programs that fit them, find programs of coaches that are on the rise that can put them in a position to have this kind of success. I mean, you look at what LSU has now, Kim Mulkey getting a transfer like Angel Reese, for Taylor Soule to go to Virginia Tech, Kiera Fletcher to be the point guard at South Carolina. I think that transfer portal definitely helps the parity of women's basketball.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because we talk about there not being any blue bloods, right, in the Final Four out. And when you think about what it means to be a blue blood, right? I actually Googled this earlier because I needed to make sure that we're talking about it correctly. And I was like, what does it take to be a blue blood? Because we're talking about it across sports in general, right?
Right.
And it said that it takes domination over decades, right? Like, you're used to seeing this team in the Final Four. You're seeing this team winning championships. South Carolina, obviously, they've been doing this for a minute. It's been about 6 years, right? Do you think that they have what it takes to eventually become a blue blood?
I think if you ask Dawn Staley, she's okay with her blood being red. It doesn't have to be blue. And I think that what Dawn has done is build the program and do it the right way. She didn't go about it getting quick fixes. First, she really started to sign the talent that was in the state of South Carolina, right? Then she proved that she could win, and it was built on defense. Then once she showed that she could stop you, then she had to bring in players that could score. Then you get a superstar like Asia Wilson that's right there in your backyard, right? And then you bring in, you attract a player like Aaliyah Boston. So we've just continued to build so that she was able to sustain. She's got a top recruiting class coming in next year. Yes, this number one recruiting class that are seniors college now are going to move on, and they're all going to play at the next level. And then she's got a new crop coming in. It's just reload. And keep going, keep staying and sustaining, and that's what they've done.
It's really interesting when we talk about women's college basketball, because we saw this with UConn, right? Where at a point we were like, okay, we get it, y'all are good for a very long time. Do we think that's going to happen with South Carolina? Because you talk about their recruiting class, how they're just going to reload. Does that make women's college basketball better? Like, how does that affect the entirety of women's college basketball in general?
Look, as long as it's good basketball, I don't care if it's always at one program or it's spread across the board. But what we're seeing in women's basketball with the parity and the talent going all over. You got Juju Watkins is going to USC next year out in California.
Yeah.
So you've got Kiki Rice that's at UCLA. It's going to be harder to be one program that sustains and dominates start to finish.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's exciting about women's basketball.
So I asked Drea this, and I want to ask you this, because we've seen, it feels like a year ago that we found out the 64 teams that were going to go to the tournament. What has been the best part for you? Because we've gotten so many great moments. It's been amazing to watch. What has been the best part for you, the part that stands out?
That it's been, you cannot predict really what's going to happen. Yeah. Even though you have South Carolina that's on track to be undefeated right now, Iowa could, get hot from the three-point line. The unpredictability this year, the upsets that have happened, you got two number ones that got upset before they could get to here. Those kind of moments, and having been to the Final Four and coached here, for the first time, programs that are getting here, Virginia Tech, I'm so excited for the Hokies because I know what it was like for my first time as a coach. Purdue had been there before, but the group of women that I was coaching had not. And for them to get to experience this is so exciting.
Yeah, awesome. Love that. Okay, so before we go, we're going to take a look at a few things that we didn't get a chance to talk about. Now, obviously, Angel Reese is absolutely dominating. She has been the entire season. In this tournament, she's averaging 22.5 points per game, 17.3 rebounds per game, and 3.8 blocks per game. Now, this is perfect time to bring up a tweet. T, do you want to tee this up? Because I know this was a moment for you because we were cracking up laughing about this.
We were. So there was a tweet that came up where Angel Reese, who shares the same name as her mom, Angel Reese, apparently there were people who were in Angel Reese's DM and didn't realize it was not the Bayou Barbie. It was her mom. And so I saw this tweet where it's like, FYI, I'm Angel Reese's mom, not LSU women's basketball player. Please be mindful when you tag or send me DMs that your intent is to me and not to my daughter. I'm getting some crazy dating requests from men kids age who clearly, by the content of the message, think they're sending it to little A. So, Carolyn, have you had people slide into your DMs?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
You look amazing, too. And I mean, listen, I'm just asking, have you had some DM issues where...
There are no issues because I am very happily married. So it's all good. Yes, my husband put a ring on it.
Yes. Oh, my God. Your DMs are about to be toast right now.
I love that. Thank you so much, CP, for joining us. Obviously, you can watch CP for the entirety of the rest of the Final Four, and we're looking forward to that. And thank you guys for watching Countdown to the Semifinal presented by Wendy's. Tune in to the NCAA Women's Final Four special on ESPN right now, and then the Final Four immediately after that. We will see you guys at the championship.
Hi, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. I'm Elle Duncan. Welcome to the set. As we are live from Dallas, the fans are lit. I'm so happy to be joined by my fantastic crew here. Carolyn Peck, who won a national championship, head coach in Purdue, our Hall of Famer, our resident Lady Ball, and really sports wonderkin Andrea Carter, and of course our Hall of Famer in Rebecca Lobo. We love this. We always joke that everything's bigger in Texas, and this year that's been the case in this tournament, with comebacks, with upsets, with matchups, and in particular with interest.
And when you look at this Final Four, you have some firsts that can be life-changing for the coaches and the players. Lisa Bluter in her 23rd season at Iowa, it's her first time coaching in the Final Four. Kenny Brooks and the entire Virginia Tech program, their first time ever in the Final Four. These are the kind of moments that can change things for you in the future.
I thought that this season was going to be something special. First off, ESPN, we had 4 game days this season.
Yes, we did.
We saw sellouts that happened. They had it at Indiana. They had it at South Carolina. I mean, the crowds that were coming out and the upsets we talked about along the way. So the unpredictability has built to the excitement of this Final Four where we are.
Yeah, Elle, you mentioned all of the upsets, right? When we talk about what Ole Miss was able to do, what Miami was able to do, all of the teams. Who are teams that we have always known to be in the Final Four, or at least to be in the Elite Eight, right? This is the second time in the history of the tournament that Tennessee, Connecticut, and Stanford didn't make it to the Elite Eight. And that's not a knock on those programs. That's just a compliment to everyone else and the competition that we have seen across the nation and in this tournament.
Did you hear the person yell, "See ya"?
They're like, don't let the door hit you or the good Lord split you. If we're stealing from them. And I mentioned the interest, right? You see the interest out here. This is the hottest ticket on record in women's hoops history. It is the most expensive ticket ever for these fans. And I love that they can't hear me.
It's amazing.
And they don't know.
They have no idea.
They have no idea that they had to break a bank. But of course, the show is in town. When you look at the matchup perspective, in particular the very first one that we've got on the docket tonight, LSU and Virginia Tech, what stands out to you? What are you most excited about?
Oh, man. I mean, I'm excited about the fact that this Virginia Tech team, when you talk about the stars, right? We talked about UConn and Stanford, and we've always known those teams to have stars. All four of these teams have superstars on them. You've got Aaliyah Boston and Zaya Cook for South Carolina, and then you've got Liz Kitley and Georgia Amore for Virginia Tech. For LSU, who do we have? Angel Reese and Alexis Morris. The stars that we're going to see, Caitlin Clark, Monica Sonato, the stars that we're going to see, I can't wait from across the board. But from these two teams specifically, this player right here, I call her Angel Relentless Reese. I can't wait to watch her play.
Well, you've got Kim Mulkey, who is used to or familiar of getting to the Final Four with the experience that she had at Baylor, and only in her second year, as many people thought that she underscheduled, but still was able to get LSU prepared to be at the Final Four. And there's things you're going to know about LSU and a Kim Mulkey coach team is they're going to defend and they're going to rebound, and they're going to have to do both against a very tough Virginia Tech team.
What really interests me about both matchups, and the first one in particular, is the contrast in styles and how the teams play. You know, LSU is so focused on their defense and their rebounding. They're a high-scoring team, but they don't do it by making threes. They do it by getting out in transition. They do it by getting paint points, getting to the offensive glass. And then you have Virginia Tech. How do they score their buckets? Well, yes, they go inside to Liz Kitley, but they also rely heavily on the three-point shot and their play from the perimeter. So it'll be fun, interesting contrast in styles.
We talked about what we're so excited about, right? That game is the first game. We haven't even gotten to, it's like a two-meal dinner tonight, right? We're getting two dinners tonight. As, of course, we're talking about undefeated South Carolina, who's trying to have a perfect record, just the 10th team in history to do it. They're facing, of course, Iowa and Caitlin Clark, who was just named National Player of the Year. We're going to get to all that. We're going to set the table, certainly over the course of this hour. But this week, the Dallas Local Organizing Committee welcomed the Final Four teams to North Texas at a team arrival event. The welcome party was a collaboration of all things Dallas, with the teams being greeted by lights, cameras, a DJ, of course a dance floor, and custom team wrap Buick Enclave Avenires, all provided by locally owned businesses in the Dallas area. The teams made their way to the team buses, which were led downtown by custom team branded Buick vehicles, as we welcome LSU, Virginia Tech, Iowa, and South Carolina to the last leg of the road to the Final Four. And we also welcome Holly Rowan to the show as she caught up with Virginia Tech head coach Kenny Brooks ahead of his program's first semis appearance.
Coach, it's finally here, a big time for your team, but they haven't been on this stage before. How are you trying to build calm and composure into your team right now?
We measured the floor, and it was 94 feet. The basket was still 10 feet high. It's a basketball game. It really is. And it's a lot of hoopla, and very deservingly so, and they deserve that attention. But just go out and be yourselves. Go out and play. You know, LSU is a fantastic basketball team, but they've never been here either. And I know Coach Mulkey has, but last I checked, Coach Mulkey and I are not going to be playing. So it's up to the kids. They have to go out and they have to play hard and just be themselves.
Georgia Amore is having an NCAA tournament for the ages, 6 straight games with 20 or more points. You text her before every game. What have you texted her tonight? Do you care if you share?
Oh, absolutely. I told her, you're the best player on the floor. Go prove it. And now she responds with, I know. And it used to be a lot of hesitation just because she's so humble. And now she's understanding how important she is. And when she gets out and she plays extremely well and confident and aggressive, it makes us a better basketball team. So she's been phenomenal. And it's been a lot of fun for me to watch her because she's the hardest working kid I've ever had.
Thank you, Coach. Have fun tonight.
Thanks, Holly.
Well, Dre, I want to know how you feel about the fact that he texts Georgia Amor and says, your best player on the floor. What about Liz Kelly? She's the two-time reigning ACC player of the year. I wonder what he's texting her.
I know.
You also, don't talk to Georgia.
You're
the best player
You're
on
the
floor
best.
as well.
That's like our producers. They text, you're the best one on the floor, and then they text us, you're the best.
Yeah, you're the best.
I don't get the text.
Exactly. But let's talk about that, because we met with this Virginia Tech team, and they had, so much reverence for their head coach, and Kenny Brooks, who was giving us so many pearls of wisdom. I was writing them down. But let's talk about Liz and Georgia, because he's called Liz Kitley his best player, but Georgia Amor his most important player. Why?
Well, I think Georgia Amor she's so fiery. She has so much heart. She has so much passion, but she also has the ball in her hands. And I know, Rebecca, I know you love the post players, but the player that has the ball in their hands gets everything going. They're the engine. She's the one that facilitates the offense. She's the one that finds her teammates. She's the one that spins and kicks it to the three-point shooters. So Georgia Amor and her confidence, the way she comes down the floor with her head held high, her shoulders bowed, like, come at me if you want to, that spreads to the rest of the team. So she is critical for Virginia Tech's success.
I think the point guard, yes, they get everything started. You've got Elizabeth Kitley inside, but I believe Taylor Stoll's athleticism is going to be so key to going against the athleticism of LSU. She's going to be the one that's going to have to clean up rebounds, who's going to have to get deflections, who is going to have to bring that defensive energy. Kenny Brooks told me early this season he felt like this was the best defensive team he has ever had. And I asked him, why was that? And he said, because of Taylor Stoll, the attitude that she brings to the floor really affects everybody else that's on the court with her.
I'm going to go back to the post guard conversation, because post players, as Carolyn and I know, are at the mercy of their guards in terms of getting the basketball. And in the NCAA tournament and in Final Four national championship games, the players who have the ball in their hands, therefore the guards, are the ones who can have the biggest impact. Look at the national championship game a year ago, as important as Aaliyah Boston was. It was Destiny Henderson who won that game for South Carolina. Why? Because she's a guard and she has the ball in her hands. Keep an eye on the guard play.
While we're showing some love to guards, listen, we get tons of criticism when we're wrong, and deservedly so. That's fine. So when we're right, yeah, you're never wrong. But when we're right, baby, we glow. And I just want you to know that there is someone on this set that back in January picked a dark horse that could end up in the Final Four, and here's who they said it would be.
There are some teams this season, some sleeper teams that could get to a Final Four. I'm talking Ohio State being one of them. Carolyn, you just saw them. Also Virginia Tech.
Andrea Carter, ladies and gentlemen, picked
She was 1 for 2. No, 50% might be good for a guard. It's not good.
Ohio State
I could have picked anyone in the country. I could have said anybody was a sleeper team. I was 1 for. How many Division I teams are there, Carter? Research, 300 and something.
For 2 with the things that came out.
Well
done. Well done.
But that was
picked Virginia Tech to be here as a sleeper team. And Ohio State was close. They played each other to get here. They played each other to get here.
Heads and tails, I'm going with Drea Carter.
There you go. She's always right.
Dang right.
Undefeated, never lost.
Sleeper
How about
team.
that?
What'd I say?
We're just getting started here from the set as we get you ready for semi-action. 2 fantastic matchups. Coming up here on the show, LSU head coach Kim Mulkey. You see the crowd is there. Certainly she's been known to throw a fit, and I do not mean her temperament. We're going to take you inside her viral fashion choices and the intentionality behind them. Plus, as SportsCenter looks to run it back, Monica McNutt joins the show. She'll highlight the senior class for South Carolina, who's keying the program's incredible run.
The Final Four is set. Virginia Tech is headed to the Final Four.
Get your ticket to Dallas. We're going to the Final Four.
Iowa is headed to the Final Four.
South Carolina stays unbeaten. And the overall top seed is headed to Dallas.
Most of us can't relate to experiencing a 42-game win streak or going 129-8 over the span of 4 years. But many of us can relate to our names for some of our favorite groups of people being born out of our group chats. That's how the name Freshies came to be for the iconic senior class at South Carolina.
Aaliyah Boston, Zaya Cook, reveal, Letitia Meir, Olivia Thompson.
Dawn Staley's first ever #1 recruiting class debuted in 2019. And thanks to a group chat, the Freshies were born.
When that 2019 class came along, they elevated us. Man, they came in with a innocence, yet hunger. They only wanted to be successful. They only wanted to win.
I believe when you are put on a pedestal and people look at you in terms of wanting to see you succeed, you kind of want to live up to that.
Aaliyah Boston and her squad lived up to the hype year one, going 32-1 overall, while winning the SEC regular season and SEC conference title, but their goal of winning a national title was cut short.
The coronavirus putting an abrupt end to the season less than a month before champions were to be crowned.
We had a phenomenal group my freshman year, and we were all devastated that our season cut short the way it did. The COVID year was the most devastating year. The synergy with that team was quite incredible. I didn't see us losing after we lost to Indiana, but the tournament did happen. The bottom fell out.
Sophomore year was another great year. I think we came in ready to get to work. We were like, okay, we want to go for it. We want to go all the way. And I mean, it also got cut short.
2 seconds left. Beal misses Boston. No! Aaliyah Boston's follow just misses at the buzzer.
Here's the thing. Anytime there's something difficult, if you're able to forge through that, on the other side, basketball has a way of being the gift that keeps on giving.
South Carolina has captured its second national championship. Tears of triumph in 2022.
Honestly, I've been thinking about this since last season because everyone had a picture of me crying. But today we're national champions and I need tears, Holly.
I'm very proud that we were able to win a national championship together. Just think about when we came in, I remember there was a lot of talk about whether we would stay, whether people would transfer out of this #1 recruiting class.
There could be a lot of points where we could have deviated and went, different directions.
It was the Freshies since we were freshmen, and we stayed together. We didn't leave each other.
Now, in their senior year, they have the opportunity to join an elite group of only 4 programs to win a national title with an undefeated season. Texas, UConn, Tennessee, and Baylor.
We want to be a part of the best. And we're here, like we're right here, then we want to be a part of history.
Coach pushed us from day one to compete against each other, to make each other better, and I think we've just done a great job of, continuing to make that the culture of South Carolina women's basketball.
South Carolina stays unbeaten, and they are back in the Final Four.
Their legacy is going to be hard to uphold. Truly is. Because they're not just incredibly gifted athletes. The human being side of them, the high character, I had no issues with them for 4 years. None. That's not going to be repeated. Ever.
Guys, the pursuit of victory number 43 continues tonight, of course, in the second game of tonight's semifinal action. But before we get to that, let's get you back inside to Elle Duncan and the crew setting the table for Virginia Tech and LSU.
Thank you, Monty. We'll see you in just a little bit as Monica will join the desk in a little while. You're looking at the crowd outside, inside, warm-ups underway as we get set for the first of 2 matchups tonight. Angel Reese and LSU taking on the #1 seeded Virginia Tech Hokies as we officially say, hey, we are courtside. Best seats in the house, and well, based on ticket prices, the most affordable too. We're right here. We have, as you can see, boot scooted our boogies back indoor.
It's not going to stop. It's not going to stop.
I'm just going to keep doing this.
Okay.
So you can just listen. As I'm
the dad jokes. I know you heard it.
It's just
not going to
I'm
stop.
still trying to figure out my sitting pants.
Yeah. Sitting britches, and you need to get it right. Sitting britches, and you need to get it right.
Okay.
We're indoors. Obviously, everyone is outside as they're starting to make their way in. But I do want to, before we sort of get into some the machinations of these matchups, just remind the folks at home how these 4 teams two-step their way to Dallas. I know, you're cringing. It's my job. The reigning champs have won 42 straight games since they lost in the SEC Championship to Kentucky last year. Defense has been their calling card, holding their last 82 opponents under their season scoring average. Fellow 1 seed, Virginia Tech, riding a win streak of their own, 15-game win streak into Dallas for their first Final Four appearance in school history. The Aussie assassin, Georgia Amoore, has been draining threes, hitting 60 from beyond the arc during the streak. How about them Hawkeyes? They're making their second Final Four appearance in program history, first in 30 years. Maybe you've heard of Caitlin Clark.
Maybe.
He scored or assisted on 62% of her team's points in the tournament and tacked on a 40-point triple-double. MBD. And last but certainly not least, we've got LSU, led by Kim Mulkey, who's just the 4th coach to take multiple teams to the Final Four. Mulkey's got AP All-American Angel Reese on the squad, who has an SEC record 32 double-doubles this season. As we take another look at the bracket, it all comes down to this. Virginia Tech and LSU will face each other for a chance to face the winner of tonight's matchup between South Carolina and Iowa. National Championship coming for you Sunday, 3:30 Eastern over on ABC. And you mentioned it, Rebecca, as we take a look at Angel Reese, who's here on the court, transfers from Maryland, says at first she didn't know if she wanted to play for Kim Mulkey because she thought she was crazy, but she knew she'd get the best of her, and we're seeing her at her best.
Yeah, Angel Reese has been outstanding all season long, and she's upped her play in the NCAA tournament as well. And we talked a little earlier about the contrast in styles, and for Virginia Tech getting to the three-point line, an offensive blast is all about Angel Reese, and the other thing that's all about Angel Reese is getting to the free throw line. LSU is 3rd in the country in free throws per game. It's how they make up for the fact that they are not excellent from the three-point line, and this young woman gets to the free throw line more than anybody else in the country.
She certainly does, as of course Angel Reese will be a star tonight, but there's so many stars, which is fitting. It's Dallas, kind of the home of the lone stars. Not a lone star, many stars. Who are you watching for tonight?
Well, I'm watching for Georgia Amoore, and you saw the play, that contested 3 that she hit before she slapped her name, Virginia Tech, onto that bracket. That three-pointer, that is the one that I want to break down because it is picture perfect as far as what Georgia Amoore is capable of and how crafty she is with the basketball. She has such a tight handle. She's so low to the ground, and she's so good at creating space. If you watch, Georgia Amoore's 5'6". Taylor Theory is 6 foot, and what does she do first? She sheds the defense to create a little space just with her dribble on the spin move. Nothing there. Now she can attack the elbow, maybe snake dribble because she loves that dribble, but she can't because she draws 2 defenders like she often does because she is that good. It is a low crossover at the defender's ankles, picture perfect, and then the elevation. Look how high she gets up off the ground to shoot a contested 3. Oh, not shoot, make a contested 3. So many coaches we talked to said Georgia Amoore makes hard shots. We're just showing it one more time because it's just that beautiful. She is a star.
Way to introduce people to Georgia Amoore. No introduction necessary for either Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese. Angel Reese, we talked about it, being one of the elite offensive rebounders in the country. She does her work early. Here, the shot does not even leave her teammate's hand, and she is going to the offensive glass. Defense is between her and the bucket, doesn't matter. Moves her under the rim, gets the offensive board, and is able to put it in. Angel Reese is an improved passer as well. All eyes on Angel Reese. Double team's going to come. She makes the reverse pass out. Same thing. Shot goes up. This time defender not between her and the bucket. Able to slither around and get to the rim. This is the first one. Doesn't matter. Has an outstanding second jump. Able to get that O-board and finish. Watch out for her today on the offensive glass.
I'm looking for Aaliyah Boston of the undefeated South Carolina Gamecocks. Now, South Carolina has got to get used to Aaliyah Boston's getting double teamed, and the perimeter passers have gotten much better at recognizing where the help could possibly be. So you don't initially give her the ball in the lob, but you allow Aaliyah Boston to show you that she's not just a post player, she's a basketball player, and she's getting into that mid-range and able to knock down her shot. Another area where South Carolina is getting Aaliyah Boston is at the high post, and then they're vacating not the right lane, but the left lane, and Aaliyah Boston is showing you her versatility to go both directions and able to finish, even when the defenses try to double team her.
All right, a couple of post players. Well, then we got to make it a couple of guards, and everybody knows Caitlin Clark is so incredible when she's able to score the ball. But how about she facilitates? All eyes will always be
on Caitlin Clark. She knows that. She's able to get some dribble penetration. All eyes on her again, but where are her eyes? They are up. They are looking at her teammates around the perimeter, able to deliver this pass beautifully. McKenna Warnock has all the time in the day to get this shot off. Once again, you have to respect Caitlin Clark as a shooter. A pump fake. Where does the defender go? Another pump fake. Both defenders slide. She's able to find a shooter again on the perimeter. Led the nation in assists this season.
Rebecca, that was a beautiful breakdown. But my favorite thing that you said was slither. Can you get that in the game broadcast? I want you to say slither again. On the Angel Reese broadcast, you said slither. I need to hear it.
I think I can.
Can you incorporate a slither? I got to tell you what, I'm hotter than a liar in church, but we are making a way as we get set for two matchups. It's fine. Listen, we still have 40 minutes left to settle
kick her off the set.
Much more on Caitlin Clark ahead as well as we get you ready. They're ready. Angel Reese is ready as well. I'm going to put you guys on the spot though, okay? I'm going to make you put your thinking caps on as it's time now for the Aflac trivia question. You ready? Caitlin Clark has scored 120 points in the NCAA tournament this year. Who has the record for most points in a single tournament? Don't yell it out. This isn't Jeopardy, okay? Answer is after the break, and you cannot Google. As we return and get you set, the Women's NCAA Championship pregame show rolls on as we're about 40 minutes from tip of the first matchup of the night.
She is such a singular talent and unique show.
One of the best in the country.
You can't give her that much space.
Caitlin Clark, come on. She's the show.
Deep three-pointer. Swishes.
Everything you see about her has a similar swag. She is the biggest brand in college sports.
Who's your favorite player on the team? Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark, yeah.
Pulls it, nails it.
Her range, her three-point shooting, she's fearless.
Her basketball IQ, her court vision, you just can't say enough about it.
You want to watch the best shooter in college basketball, men or women, it's Caitlin Clark.
She came in, she wanted to get us here to a Final Four, and she almost had to convince all of us to believe. And once we were all on board, it was kind of go time from there.
Fine looking. Here's Clark. She fires and goes! She hit it!
When she's hitting those logo threes, I'm like, what is happening?
Right on the money.
She has her cape on early. The deep three and one.
Anytime the ball is in Caitlin Clark's hand, you know something is going to happen.
A 40-point triple-double against Louisville to go to the Final Four? Are you kidding?
Caitlin Clark is the author of the first 30-point triple-double in NCAA tournament history.
They trust Caitlin so much. She's a distributor. She's a playmaker.
If you haven't appreciated Caitlin's game, like you really don't have a pulse. Like rigor mortis has set in.
She knows she's a great player. She's the most confident, exciting player to watch in women's basketball. I'm so glad America gets to see how great she truly is.
I mean, you talk about a matchup. You're talking about the last two winners of the Naismith Player of the Year, Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, have each won the last two, and they'll now go head-to-head. The only other time Naismith Player of the Year winners shared the court in the Final Four later was last year's title game, Aaliyah Boston, UConn's Paige Beckers. And of course, I just said it. And for us media folks, like on paper, it's like Aaliyah Boston versus Caitlin Clark. But of course, last I checked, they don't exactly play the same position, so they're not going to match up on the court. So RL, I'm interested in the most intriguing matchup in that nightcap.
Well, it'll be interesting. Monica Sonano, Iowa center, has had such success this year being efficient in the post. It's going to be a tall task for her going against 6'5" Aaliyah Boston and the entire front line for South Carolina. They are great shot blockers. How can she get her shot off against the size of South Carolina? We're going to take a look at some of the clips against their game against Colorado. Maybe we see some screen and rescreen action. Here, she sets a screen for Caitlin Clark. Defender goes under. That's the cue to rescreen. Defender is going to go under again. But those two will continue to work with one another. You're going to see Caitlin Clark do the handoff action. When she does this, forces the big to have to switch. And when the big switches over, Sonano finally has a good look at the basket. She is adept at finishing with both her left hand and her right. Now, this is a box overload play. They love to run. Well, what do you have to do if you're Monica Sonano? You have to figure out a way to get good position. Low, strong base. She flashes her hand into the air. They deliver the basketball in a way where the defender cannot block it. Again, same play. Box overload. Low base. Hand up, but this time look at the rim. To avoid the shot blocker, she's going to finish on the other side of it. She's going to have to do that kind of work early. And Monica Czinano, one of the things that's been most impressive to me are not all of her high numbers. It's her lowest number on the season.
Okay.
Are we going to go to the court? Are we going to go to the court? Let me see it.
I know it's coming. I know
it's coming. See that big giant X on the floor?
Yeah.
You see it? That represents the one time in the 4 NCAA tournament games that Monica Czinano has dribbled the basketball. Every other time that she has taken a shot, a field goal attempt, it's been without a dribble. That is really, really hard to do, and she's going to have to do it again.
And just to piggyback off of that too, though, it's also her guards setting her up to not take those dribbles.
Why do the guards have zero to do?
They gotta deliver. They gotta deliver. They gotta deliver the ball.
It doesn't matter. You get the ball inside. Yes, Iowa shoots 60% from in the two-point shot.
Yep.
But you know what? South Carolina only allows their opponents to shoot, what, 31%? 31% inside. So y'all can argue about getting the ball inside. They got to figure out what to do with it. And Lisa Bluter said she was going to have her team take mid-range shots. So when you look at how South Carolina takes care of the paint, Iowa, they, though, get 31% of their point from the three-point line. But again, South Carolina only allows 24% of their opponents to score from the three. It's because of the length and how they can guard one-on-one, and they can run you off that three-point line.
There's so many people at home going, I keep hearing that with South Carolina. The length. What does that actually look like?
Well, it's not just interior, right? They're blocking shots on the inside, but they're also blocking shots on the three-point line as well. And we have seen it in multiple. Are you excited about something?
I'm just saying, the length, what does it look like? It looks like her and me. It doesn't look like
It doesn't look like me. This is what it looks like. You see Aaliyah Boston, long arms, run off the three-point line. And then Camila Cardoso comes out and contests three-point shots. As a small guard, that is not easy. You see Victoria Saxton just block Charisma Osborne. Charisma Osborne's a great player. That three-point shot gets blocked. This is in the regular season against Tennessee. Look at Tess Darby over there in the corner. Oh, there we go. It's Caroline Strickland instead. Thought Tess Darby was coming up for the three. Caroline Strickland goes to shoot it. It's blocked. When you think you're open, you just actually might not be open because they close distance so well with their mobility and their length.
South Carolina has only let 3 teams all year score 70 points on them.
Yeah.
Iowa has not scored 70 only in 2 games. So it's going to be, I think that 70-point mark is going to be something to watch for.
Strength on strength.
In my Caitlin Clark tape, you saw a big window for her to get the ball through to get to her shooters today. Little tiny
It gets
window.
smaller. Something to watch for as well
down.
with South Carolina in the blocks. They've got 321 on the season. If they get 4 more tonight, or really over the course of the next couple of games, should they make it to Sunday, they would pass 2013-14 Connecticut for the most by a D1 team in a season since they started tracking blocks back in the 80s. Drea definitely wasn't born then.
No, I wasn't
All
born
right,
then.
still ahead.
Wasn't even a thought.
Still ahead.
No.
She's lit up like a crystal ball. Coming up, we will get the method to the fashion madness that is Kim Mulkey's fits, and honestly, the endearing reason that she actually just goes for it. Well, there's a look at the WBCA Coaches Trophy presented by Invesco QQQ, which will be awarded to the coach of the championship team. I'm certain Kim Mulkey hopes that it's her, but for now, maybe she'll just get an award for, like, I don't know, best fashion?
Look, we're from Louisiana. We like sparkles, we like diamonds, we like Mardi Gras, we like to eat, and we like to party.
I dress to impress. Way too fresh, way too fresh. Yeah, feeling like I'm in the magazine. Turn the page and I'm on to another scene. Yeah, fashion is my middle name, style is my game, and you know I always come to play.
If my clothes attract somebody to buy a season ticket and come to the game, I'm all for it.
Way too fresh, way too fresh.
So you see the fashion. Holly Rowe caught up with Kim Mulkey. We have been dying to see what she is wearing, and we will now find out. Holly, hey.
Well, Coach Mulkey, it's a whole nother level tonight because matching outfits with your granddaughter, Sage. This is so cute. Tell me how excited you are to be with Grandma.
See, I'm looking at that microphone.
It's scary. It's very scary. How important is this for you to have your family, all of Tiger Nation behind you right now? This is fun.
Well, Mackenzie and Kramer got to cut down lots of nets, Holly. And now I have Cannon. He's somewhere here, and Sage. And it would sure be fun. But it's fun having them here. And she's matching her yaya tonight in her outfit. And life is good.
Life is good. Your team has been terrific and surprised a lot of people. But one thing I know about you, every team you have that wins is based on defense and rebounding. How has this team done that to get to this stage?
Well, they've done it. The question starting out was how quickly we could do it. With 9 new players, you just didn't know if you could do it this quick. But we've got some competitors in that locker room, and they're excited to be here, but they want to win that next game.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you.
Did you think that we were going to do a fashion segment on Kim Mulkey and not show off some of the designs from her designer, Newbern, who blessed us with it? There we go, Rebecca. What are you calling this? This is the... Oh, it's a cape, Treya.
It's a cape.
It's giving cape.
It's giving cape.
How about you?
Like a house.
This looks a lot like what she wore, right, in the Sweet 16, the Ric Flair drip.
Yes.
You know what? I feel
It's
like
the
for this,
feathers.
I need to have a moment because there's a sleeve moment. You think that I'm wearing flip-flops. It's giving, I didn't think you were going to see my feet, but I just wanted to show you guys.
It's giving regal. It's
Is
giving.
It's giving me like Beatles.
Elegance.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wizard of Oz.
It's giving. We love. It's giving.
It's just to give
everything
all,
it needs to give.
It's giving all of the things, and we are going to give you some actual analysis when it comes to this game, and we're going to do it here. There is Newbern, the designer.
Look at her fit.
Yes. Okay, sis. Of course, Kim says that there's a couple of designers that she works with that she loves to dress up, and this is all part of it. The pomp and circumstance, as of course, she's got to get her fit right. She is back in the Final Four. And of course, LSU is a team that's a little bit ahead of schedule. Alexis Morris, really one of the only holdovers from a team a year ago. She's been asked to change her role a bit, and she's really stepped up.
Well, it's not necessarily changing. It's just going back to her natural position, and that's playing that point guard spot. Now, in the NCAA tournament, she's averaging 13 points a game, but she takes her game to another level when she goes against tougher defensive rated teams. And so it goes up to almost 21 points a game. She has an alter ego by the name of Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
And Kim Mulkey needs Luthor to show up early in this game against Virginia Tech.
And I was talking about it a little bit earlier as we see Angel Reese. She gets to the free throw line more than anybody. LSU gets to the free throw line the second most of any team in the country. And why is that particularly important today? Well, Virginia Tech really goes only 6 deep. They only played 6 players in their Sweet 16 game, and in their Elite 8 game, they did play a 7th for a few minutes. They cannot afford to get into foul trouble, and very few teams, just one, draws more fouls than LSU has drawn this season.
And in the Sweet 16 and Elite 8, Angel Reese got in foul trouble in both of those games. And who was key then when that happens? Samaya Smith, the freshman coming in off the bench, has got to give them big minutes.
We just showed Georgia Amor, and that's someone that you sort of earmarked very early on as a person to watch. Since the start of the conference tournament, she has just elevated her game to a level that we have not seen. Like when you watch what Georgia Amor does, and specifically what she brings to this Virginia Tech team, what stands out to you?
Everything stands out to me. I mean, her skill set, her talent, her confidence, her basketball IQ, and it's on both ends of the floor. And you know, you're talking about when you play LSU, you can't foul. One thing I was really impressed by the Hokies when they were playing Ohio State was their scouting report defense. The players that they were supposed to go under screens on, they went under screens on. The players they're supposed to go over screens on, they went over screens on. This is an extremely high basketball IQ team on the offensive end and the defensive end, and that plays into not fouling, because when do you foul? You foul when you're out of position. When are you out of position? When you don't follow the scouting report. So that's going to be huge.
It's funny, Kenny Brooks this morning after shoot-around was talking about the level and the high IQ that his team is, and he said to the point that they'll know a team scout, and they'll go out and they'll come over and say, Coach, they're not running the plays the way they're supposed to run them. About the other team. This is a team that knows what they're supposed to do and has been able to do it on a really high level for much of the season.
And you know what else this team can do? Score the basketball. And Carolyn, you've had LSU in this tournament. Scoring the ball is something that points have been hard to come by for LSU. Yep. You have to figure out how to score the ball against this Virginia Tech team, because they've got that inside-outside presence, and they're averaging 8 made threes a game. That's a big difference.
Well, the other thing that I'm looking for is with LSU, there's a freshman, Flazé Johnson. Flazé Johnson in big games has really struggled. Remember when they played South Carolina the first time? In the first Sweet 16 game, over 7. That freshman needs to get going if LSU wants to advance to the finals.
Let's talk about a couple of other people as well. Some X factors, if you will, because we've sort of earmarked. You're getting uncomfortable.
Well, I mean,
it's the cape.
it's the cape.
It's the cape. Okay.
But I'm giving superhero-like analysis.
Yeah, listen, you've just got to. Wow.
That's awesome.
And you thought it was me. Thank you.
Who in this first game reminds you most of you, Drea?
Well, I don't know. They all score way better than me, so I'll just knock myself down a few notches. You guys saw me in college. I wasn't scoring the basketball, so they're all a lot better than I am. But defensive-minded, I'll say Taylor Soule. She's much better on offense than I was, and much stronger and much bigger. But she loves defense.
Yeah, what a great story for Taylor Soule as well. Someone that you said is an X factor on Virginia Tech. She said she wanted to transfer to Virginia Tech after getting beat so much at Boston College, and she's really become such an integral part to what they do.
She's the dog. And I mean that in as a term of endearment. She brings that defensive presence for Virginia Tech. She is going to be the one that you're going to see flying out of bounds after loose basketballs. You're going to see her flying in, getting deep offensive and defensive rebounds, and she is willing to defend anybody on the court.
And I have to, Rebecca, we would be remiss to not mention a little bit of the history that's being made here with what's happening with the coaches here at the Final Four. We mentioned Kenny Brooks. This is just the second time ever in tournament history that we're getting 2 black coaches in the Final Four. It's certainly special, especially for a guy like Kenny Brooks, who has just meant so much to the game and is now here for the first time.
And it was lovely to hear his players talk in such glowing terms about him as a father figure and how he has helped them grow as young women and as basketball players. The way his players spoke about him, and I was with them in Seattle, and then again here in Dallas, you can always tell a true love players have for their coach, and that's certainly the case with Virginia Tech.
Well, we love you too very much, but rumor has it you're actually on the call for this game. And I'm hoping that you're going to wear those outfits during the game.
Oh, you please. Don't bet your savings on it.
Wait, okay, there's a mandate and you're not allowed to. It's
don't
fine.
Bet on
there
it.
is not enough room behind the booth. We'll see you guys in the game. Thanks for joining us here. We'll say goodbye, and we'll be joined by Monica McNutt in just a few minutes as we get ready. There she is, Kim Mulkey's granddaughter. She looks absolutely adorable. The first of 2 matchups just under 17 minutes away from LSU and Virginia Tech here at American Airlines Center in Dallas. We continue after the break.
Elizabeth Kitley, Georgia Amore, they've been the foundation. That's why we're so tough to beat.
Little bestie connection right there.
These two have great chemistry with one another. They're roommates as well.
We know where each other likes to get the ball because we've practiced it a lot. That has a lot to do with Coach Brooks. In the offseason, he'll work us out together.
Liz is probably our best player, but George is our most important.
Liz is just so intense and competitive. She's very calm and mellow off the court, but then as soon as she's on the court, it switches.
Kitley on the feed from Amore.
The inside-out combination really had it going tonight.
You've developed this special chemistry and connection. How have you done it? I'm just so funny.
The amount of space that she can create from a step back is insane.
That is the cleanest step back.
I've just been able to learn where she's coming from, the passing that she has.
They just love each other. They just want to win.
Georgia Amore is having a tournament for the ages. Did you know she's actually hit more threes in this NCAA run to the Final Four than Caitlin Clark? She has been the wonder from down under, and her parents actually have made it here to the game. They got on a flight 15 and a half hours from Melbourne to Dallas, a direct flight. And so her parents are here in the stands. Kelly and Phil are so proud of her. They said she's always been tough. Our family's always been good in sports, but she's taken it to a whole nother level. So the wonder from down under, you're going to love watching her here.
We certainly are, Holly. She's our wonder from the PG area. It doesn't really exactly rhyme.
Wonder, though.
Monica McNutt, as we say, speaking of Georgia Amore. Good eye. Oh, God. Monica is going to be joining us for halftime. We're so excited in postgame. But when you think about this first matchup, what are you most intrigued by? What are you most interested in?
Well, I want to see Virginia Tech on both sides of the ball. This is a team that, while we're talking about their three-point shooting led by Georgia Amore, this is a team that takes a lot of pride in defending. They say we might not be the best one-on-one defenders, but as a team, we're pretty stout defensively. And LSU, well, we know they can defend. But Angel Reese said to us that the X factor for this team is if they can find more efficient shooting, an area that they have room room to grow in their tournament game so far?
Here's the biggest thing for both teams. Points off turnovers. Both teams are locked in defensively. Who can create points off of their defense? And both of them are going to be up the line. They're going to look for deflections. They're going to try to rebound and run. Who controls those points off turnovers?
It is the hottest ticket in the building. If you can't be here, that's okay, because we are on every single network. ESPN, ESPN2 if you want Bird and Tarazi, ESPN Plus, ESPN The Ocho, ESPNU. You name it, we're on it as we get set for the first of two matchups tonight. LSU, Virginia Tech, and then the nightcap, South Carolina and Iowa. We bid you adieu for now from courtside, and when you get you ready for more.